Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our reaction to the qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix, which I think was a fantastic session, which looked like it was going to be incredibly close, and I think was pretty close. We'll get into all of it and more throughout this video, but firstly, you have to like and subscribe. That's the rules. I don't make the rules, I just enforce them. Anyway, let's get into Q1, and we have a lot of guys queuing at the end of the pit lane here. Obviously very scared of yellow flags, red flags. There wasn't actually any red flags throughout this session, which was a bit of a surprise, considering every other session we've had. I think it was just FP2. Oh no, FP3 didn't have a red flag in either. But I think every other session for F1, F2 and F3 has had a red flag or a safety car for the sprint races for F2 and F3. So yeah, it's very likely to have one, but we didn't have one, so that was okay. But the track evolution here is absolutely huge. And we see that from the lone Williams immediately looking very twitchy out on the track straight away on their initial lap. As we go throughout the session, though, that track gets quicker and quicker and quicker, and a lot of teams are showing quite a bit of speed. Alonso tops Q1 by nearly 3/10 of a second with 8 minutes to go, and then with 7 minutes to go, Sainz replaces him. Gasly's under investigation for crossing the pit line, so he'll probably get a penalty for that, but it won't really change much if I'm being honest. Apparently, Perez impeded Hulkenberg as well, and either they didn't show this or I didn't see it. But yeah, I haven't seen that one, but apparently Perez has impeded Hulkenberg and may also be under investigation for a penalty there. Now, Mercedes are having a bad time. They had a bad time through most of the practice sessions, but it seemed like they were maybe getting a little bit better in FP3, but they really struggled here today. For a lot of Q1, Russell was really struggling, down in like P17. He does eventually get a good lap in and makes it through to Q2, but yeah, as we go on, we'll see it does get a little bit worse for Mercedes. But Albon has a fantastic lap with 3 minutes to go, putting himself P5. So like I said, the Williams getting more comfortable the longer it is out there, and the track getting a bit more grip on it and a bit more speed. And the four guys who are out in Q1, just the four, because obviously Sargent's not taking part here this weekend. So it was Zhou in 19th, Gasly 18th, Hulkenberg 17th, Magnussen 16th, but then Ricciardo has a lap time deleted for track limits. So the actual bottom four: Zhou 19th, Ricciardo 18th, Gasly 17th, Hulkenberg 16th. So Gasly, if he does get a penalty, will be starting right at the back. Won't make that much of a difference. A bit of setting for Ricciardo there. I was expecting good things for him this weekend, and I did think his lap was pretty good, but he very obviously went off. I think it was turn 5 he went off. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty cut and fine there, which is a shame. Into Q2, and a very interesting session here. So we'll just cut to who's out here, because that's the main focus point of Q2. So Ocon in 15th, which to be fair, in an Alpine is pretty good. Magnussen 14th, which again for Magnussen, very good result, beat Hulkenberg in qualifying. Bottas impressive 13th for the Stake F1 team kick Sauber. Albon gets the Williams in 12th, but the big story of Q2 is 11th is Lewis Hamilton, just 0.059 off of getting into Q3. But yeah, Hamilton, his lap looked like he was really struggling, really pushing the car, but still not able to get through to Q3. And I think this is like the 5th race in a row now that Russell has beaten Hamilton in qualifying. So, on a bit of a streak here for Lewis, who throughout his career has always been a bit of a qualifying specialist, not doing too well over one lap. And I was looking at the stats for the Australian Grand Prix earlier this week. Lewis Hamilton has 8 pole positions for the Australian Grand Prix, which is second place of all time in most pole positions at one track, only being beaten by Lewis Hamilton and his 9 pole positions at the Hungarian Grand Prix. What's even more interesting, 8 pole positions, only 2 wins, which is an awful ratio if you think about that there. 8 poles to 2 wins. And yeah, not on pole here by a long shot. P11. Mercedes really, really struggling here this weekend. It seems like we saw in Saudi, they really lack that straight line speed. They're one of the slowest cars in a straight line. And here, it's a really fast track with 4 DRS zones. So they're really going to struggle in a straight line yet again. And that's what we see here. Lewis Hamilton out in Q2. Now going into Q3, the initial lap times were this. So Stroll didn't set a lap time when everyone else set their first lap. Alonso went out to set a lap, but then went off into the gravel trap at turn 6. Yuki was 8th, Russell 7th, Piastri 6th, Norris 5th, Perez 4th, Leclerc 3rd, Sainz 2nd, and Verstappen in first place. Stroll then went out and did his lap, in between when everyone else does their lap. We saw Alonso do that in Bahrain, where everyone goes out and does their first lap. Then once they're getting ready for their second lap, Alonso went out, Stroll did it this time, has a track to themselves, but not necessarily at the peak moment. Stroll sets a lap good enough for P8 at that time. But when everyone sets their second fastest lap in qualifying, this was our top 10 and our top 10 for tomorrow. So Alonso only good enough for 10th. Really not a great lap from Alonso at all. When he's been showing good speed throughout Q1 and Q2, was not able to deliver into Q3. It puts Stroll in P9, so the lead of the Astons there. Yuki, a very impressive P8. Russell in 7th, quite a bit off the rest of the pack, but still showing he's getting the most out of that Mercedes, which is really struggling this weekend. Piastri in 6th, Leclerc in P5, who abandoned his second lap, made a big mistake going into the third sector and just pitted there, so only P5 for him. Norris was 4th, Perez 3rd, but as we said before, might be under investigation for the impeding of Hulkenberg, so he could get a penalty there. We could see him moving down a little bit. Sainz is P2, and Max Verstappen claims pole position once again. Carlos Sainz only 0.2 of a second off of Max Verstappen. I think Ferrari have still got very good pace here this weekend. Sainz, incredible though. You know, you've got to think, a week ago, he was on the operating table in Saudi Arabia getting his appendix taken out. Sorry, 2 weeks ago that was, not a week ago. He's still not 100%, but he's in the car, and he's done a fantastic job here. And you know what? I think Sainz is possibly one of the most underrated guys on the grid. He's absolutely fantastic. When he puts a good weekend in, it really stands out there. And the fact that he hasn't got a drive next year is really quite embarrassing, I think, to the F1 grid. And he'll definitely get a drive, but he needs to be in one of those top teams. I know we have all these discussions about the Red Bull second seat. I think Sainz should be in that conversation, if I'm honest. I know it kind of goes against the whole point of the, I was going to say Toro Rosso, what they call Racing Bills system and all that, but they did it differently for Perez. I reckon they could do it a little bit differently for Sainz, because he's absolutely fantastic. And if he goes to a team like a Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber, I think that's a massive waste of what he can do. Even if they do turn to Audi, and they might be good in a few years' time, we'll have a few years of Sainz being really good in a really crap car. So, Carlos Sainz needs to go somewhere good next year. Maybe Aston. Why not, eh? Why not? So there you go. I thought that was a really, really fun qualifying session. Sets a really interesting grid for tomorrow's race. And I think this track as well, since they've made these changes, I think it's a really fun track to race at. I did see the F2 sprint this morning, and that was really good. I haven't seen the F3 sprint, but people were saying it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to catch up on that one pretty soon. I think tomorrow we're in for some good stuff. So all good things to look forward to. And of course, subscribe to the channel, because we'll be here right after the race to discuss everything that goes down. So I'll see you then. Until next time, though, have a good one. See you then. Goodbye.